Welcome to a new video lesson. In today's lesson, I will give an analysis of Clear Light of Day by Anita Desai. So, let's begin. In my last class on Clear Light of the Day, we have discussed about how the bonding between Beam and Dr. Biswas was developing. But what we see here is that there is always a chance of the bonding not happening because Beam has preoccupied intentions, preoccupied duties which she needs to fulfill. Most importantly, that is related to the family, the bondings of the family. That is because of there is no one to take care of Raja and Mira Mashi. Okay, so in this context, what we see that she is almost closing the gate of any future relation between them, but still there is hope, still there is a lingering of this bonding, still the chance of this bonding, and that we will see in this section where Raja speaks about the typical Bengaliness, where he speaks about the tendency of whether a typical Bengali man has asked her, that is Beam, to meet his mother, or the homemade Rasgulla, or his mother has sent those homemade Rasgullas for her. That is being talked about. And in the meantime, what we see that Raja is recovering due to the cold weather and with the dew on the lawn and early in the mornings and bed colored flowers. What we see that Raja is recovering, though she still have Aunt Mira to take care of. She becomes quite ardent in keeping his promise, the promise that she made to herself of going back to the college to complete her course in history. And she does that. She picked up the hint dropped by Dr. Biswas of going to the clinic and help the women of Kingsway camp for the refugees. So what we see here is that there is a constant influx, or there is a constant presence of the social turmoil with the emotional and the turmoil of the within the family. Mentioning the refugees, mentioning the camps is always a technique that is being used, or the migration. This technique is always used to convey the social condition that is present outside the family. But what we see here is that it is also being taken care of the novel is taking care of the turmoil that is happening within the family. Okay, what is the turmoil all about? Turmoil is the falling of the family apart. Tara has gone away. Now Beam is taking care of the other two members, while one is helping other, one is being nurtured to great health. The another one, Aunt Mira, is still in that position. Okay, her condition has not in a place to be said well enough for development, or in any case it has no sign of development. But what we see here is that Beam's nature of helping others, Beam's inclination of helping others is seen through her choosing to help the refugees. Okay, it is a matter of deep inclination and deep justification, or what you can say a prolonged analysis whether she does this, whether she goes to help these women refugees because of her liking and for the uh, doctor or not. But what we see here is that uh, the intense nature of a motherlyhood, the intense nature of her to take care of human beings is seen clearly over here. Okay, she could help to give vitamin drops to pregnant women and mix powdered milk for the babies. It as her college ended quite early, she could spend the rest of the time there and uh, took up all her afternoon and came home after the dusk, and regretted it for when she was out of the house, when there was no one to keep an eye on Aunt Mira, who was very who was growing very difficult in managing. Okay, the most thing that has hampered Aunt Mira is uh, her intoxication, her getting alcoholic. Okay, but the problem is how she is getting the supply of the liquor is a matter of question. She does not go out of the family, the bottles are empty, but the question remains, who is giving her those liquor? uh, he, she, neither Raja nor Beam could find out that. They thought that Janaki might do that, but Janaki did not appear to be charging more than usual. They were sure for that. They suspected. Most importantly, Beam suspected, most clearly to be said, Beam suspected that old Bhakta, that person, actually supplied those things. Okay, so the glare at him for sitting idle outside the kitchen all day as if he had secret that made him superior to me. I am sure it is him. It is said by Beam. So that is what the nature of old Bhakta is, as if the nature, the way she is looked at by old Bhakta gives a sense to her that might be this person who has been supplying this. Okay, so what we see what we see here is that Raja in this place is not going to accept that because he is related to Hyder Ali. So, as he is associated with Hyder Ali, he says that as old Bhakta is associated with Hyder Ali. If you remember, old Bhakta is a person who was hiding in Hyder Ali's house and was brought to Beam's house by Beam when she visited there. What we see here is that Raja cannot take anything which is said against Hyder Ali or anyone associated with Hyder Ali. So she says that, so Raja says that as she does not have any proof, she cannot accuse him. Okay. Beam says that though she has no proof, but she has an instinct that he is the one who has given Aunt Mira, or he is supplying Aunt Mira the liquor. Aunt Mira's room was found that she had cut her hands and crying and bleeding all over the bed. In the meantime, Dr. Biswas appears, and Biswas came and handled Aunt Mira with such gentleness and compassion that seeing him at the foot of the bed, Beam softened to see him, wrap bandages around Aunt Mira's childish wrist. Holding onto her aunt's small boned and small cold feet, she saw now what her aunt had suffered through their parents' death. though Raja's illness, Tara's going away, and the perpetual sorrow over Baba. So, what we see here is that there is a sense of last summer, the troubles of the last summer that is present. The things have blown over the head of Aunt Mira, who was never the head of the family but was always taking care of the family members. All these things had been scored over her face, or has left a mark over her. Okay, it was all scored over her face, and even quivering mouth, watery eyes, and Beam had not cared to see it. Now she was lying back calmly on a pillow. So what we see here is that not just the alcoholic part, but the emotional turmoil that Aunt Mira has faced has led her to this kind of situation. And while seeing those things has made her lose her nerves. Okay, Aunt Mira has lost her nerves seeing all those things. So liquor was the only way to get out of those things. Doctor that day, while Dr. Biswas was being seen out by Beam, while Dr. Biswas was going out, she accepted the proposal of going for a tea with Dr. Biswas's mother next week. Okay, she agreed to meet Dr. Biswas's mother for tea. So what we see here is that there is the inclination of Beam to take rest, or to find someone also who will be a support system for her. She has been a lone fighter. She is fighting all alone throughout all the troubles that are coming over her family, right? But when she finds out that there is a person who is willing to share her difficulties, willing to share the problems, and is willing to accept her, she is inclined, in spite of her responsibilities, she is inclined to do her part. Okay, so what we see here is that she agrees. As we know that meeting the mother is symbolic of the function that they want to get married, they are interested in each other, else they won't go to the level of meeting the parents, right? So Dr. Biswas's intention is clear that he wants to get married to Beam. So before that they are formally being introduced to each other, that is Beam and Dr. Biswas's mother. Aunt Mira was soaked and clammed and bandaged all around. It seemed that it was due to the blood coming out, but it was not. It was actually to bind her so that she could not free herself. She could not get her hand free and reach out for the liquor. Okay, so what we see here is that they would come, that is Raja and Beam would come and sing to her. They would sing to her the lullaby as she had done before. As Aunt Mira had done before, she had sung to them in their cots, rocking them gently. But unfortunately, they are not gentle to her. Okay, they are saying, "Sleep, baby, sleep." They roared at her and kicked the side of a cot. That is what they do. So what we see here is that Aunt Mira used to make them sleep. Now they are making her fall asleep. The world has turned around, but the tone is quite opposite one. They had grown so big, so loud. They were bigger than her. They loomed over her and threatened her if they saw her wriggle. She had held out the bottle to them. Aunt Mira used to held them the feeding bottle, right? Now they are not allowing her the liquor bottle. That is the opposite thing. That is the opposite condition of society. They are seeing that they are pushing her. They threatened her, pushed her back into the grey suffocating cell, and denied her anything that she wanted. The only thing that she wanted was liquor. Okay. The next section that follows here is the tea party that she was supposed to go to at the doctor's house for actually meeting the doctor's mother. Before that, what we see here is that the Beam considers that the tea party was actually was of course a mistake. She considered that she cursed herself for having softened. So what we see here is that there is always a tussle within her. There is always a tussle between the rigid Beam, who is just dutiful and responsible for things that are to happen, and what we see here is that the other part is that the girl who wants to get settled, who wants to have her own life, who wants to get married, who wants to get acquainted with a man. Okay, so that thing, that the second wish of her, the second sphere of her, made her to believe, made her to give in to the demands of her own. Okay, so what we see here is that the humiliation and a disaster for everyone concerned. So the authorial voice also says that it was a humiliation and a disaster for everyone who was associated with it. How it has happened, that is being described over here. They see, not they, Beam sees that Dr. Biswas's mother, Mrs. Biswas, was overly dressed. She has never seen anyone so dressed, and everything was put over there, and her sari was to the point, to the perfect point. That is Mrs. Biswas's sari. There were synthetic flowers all around. The hair gleamed with coconut oil. Flakes of gold glinted, and the confectionaries, the flakes of gold, everything was there. The platter of goodies was kept. So many pieces of mithai, that is sweets, are placed. Everything. So what we see here is that the numbers of goodies were handed to Dr. Biswas, one kept by her, and they ate. So what we see here is that there is always a inclination of trying to create a bonding, whereas Beam was like a baby who stared at the goodies and munched her way through the goodies, as if she has come here to eat those. Okay, Dr. Biswas stared at his brown shoes so highly that whether they were polished or not, or he was looking at the polishing, he was eating nothing. His mother, on the other hand, as an indulgent mother would say, was saying that eat a little, Shona. So what we see here is that there is the indulgence of the mother. Dr. Biswas refused to eat. He put the plate away. While he was not eating, on the other hand, Beam was constantly munching on something, who ate on and ate on. And what we see here is that Mrs. Biswas cast a suspicious look at Beam while she was eating those things. Okay. Beam thought, why blame me when your son is not eating? as if she began with the full syrup and ate almost everything, had been eating those things. While we see here the bonding, we already feel that when we read the passages, we can already feel that there is a mismatch in their understanding capabilities or their intentions, because there is a predefined or preoccupied sense of belongingness or the sense of alienation, because these two things, belongingness and alienness, comes hand in hand. What we see here is that Dr. Biswas's family is a family where there is no dullness, there is no um, sense of broodingness present. But when we consider the Das family, the family of Bhim, we see that there are several repercussions, there are several inclinations of responsibilities, there are several responsibilities which are imposed, and those responsibilities are are shaping the character rather. Okay, obviously Dr. Biswas have responsibilities, the her mother have responsibilities, but those are not a kind of responsibility which hinders your path of progress, right? So Bhim's the responsibility that are overpowering Bhim's life changes her attitude towards everything. Okay, that we will see over here. Mrs. Biswas starts talking with the death of her husband, that she has brought Dr. Biswas up. Then she moves on to arthritis and the pains that she faced and everything. He said that there is no cure of that, and ended up with the servant boy who had run away that very morning and everything. So what we see here is that her circle, her life also surrounds the family. Okay, but those sufferings are not a kind of broodingness, a sense of negativity is not present within the family. Those things happen in normal life, but the things that are happening in the life of Bhim is also normal, natural, but they are more negative, because those responsibilities are imposed on a child, rather a youth. Okay, she has been forced to take up the responsibilities. Okay, so what we see here is that she follows the questions, she follows those description, and with the question that how many servants that the Das family has or Bhim has, and how do they pay that. To that, how to that Dr. Biswas gasped, "Ma," pressing down on the weight on the shoes and everything. What is the reason behind this? The reason behind this is that Mrs. Biswas is trying to find out the social status, or trying to analyze the economic condition of the family. Okay, so how are, on what income they are dependent on. Okay, they puff the white hair, and he is the only one who knows what work is. She went on work and everything. Mother is always glorifying about Dr. Biswas's her son's achievements and everything. His mother made it seem that he was Apollo in disguise. His degree in medicine, his dedication towards his profession, the love, his love for the patients and everything, his love for music too. As mothers do not see anything wrong in her son, that is shown here, the indulgent mother. Okay, obviously I am not saying that Dr. Biswas has some negative qualities. I am not going into that, I am not focusing on that, but what we are trying to see here is that the character of Mrs. Biswas, though very will end, the character will end over here, uh, but what we see here is that her nature is that of an indulgent mother who is thoroughly in love with her sons, with her son rather, and her son's capabilities, and she is now highlighting in front of the prospective daughter-in-law. Okay, so there is nothing bad in that, there is nothing good in that. What we see here is that this is the nature, this is the character of her. So what we see here is that Anita Desai is not judging everyone. While we see the characters, there is no judgment, there is hardly any judgment, but what we see here is that there is a representation of the characters as it is, as if a plain mirror is put in front of them, and to picturize the things, the characters as they are. Okay, so that is the point over here. She goes on to say that he wants someone, Mrs. Biswas goes on to say that Dr. Biswas, her son, wants that who understands her. Okay, so this is the criteria, but for a mother of those times, she does not understand. She says that she does not understand what he means by the daughter-in-law will understand her son. That is the demand. Okay, Dr. Biswas interjects over here. Mother sings Tagore songs. Miss Das has a trained voice. Would you like to hear? So Dr. Biswas interjects in this situation to take control of it, and interjects by saying that Miss Das is capable of singing in songs. Would you like to hear? But this situation created an annoyance within Beam, because she has already considered that she should not have softened, right? She should not have given in to her emotional demands. As I have already said, there are two parts of Beam, or two types that she takes on, or two characters that she takes on. Though it is not a split personality, but we have this tradition, everyone has this tradition. We are always soft to people who are tender towards us, right? We do not treat everyone equally. We are always in position, we always try to show, we always try to project a different kind of attitude to different people, depending on how we are treated, right? So the tenderness that Dr. Biswas has shown in managing Aunt Mira, Mira Mashi, that is, has softened her, has softened Beam, right, in taking the decision of seeing the mother. But the responsibilities that are imposed, or rather taken up by Beam herself, has forced her, or has taken her to consider this matching, or the taking the step of meeting the mother, as a wrong thing. Okay, so what we see here is that Beam feels annoyed at this. She is saying that she is thinking that let them play and sing as much as they like. She felt, why must I listen to them too? She is not even wanting to listen to them. So what we see here is that this alienation that I talked about just now, the aloofness, is already playing in. She does not feel the warmth of the home, right? Though her actual home has a lot of problems, though her actual home has a lot of um, negativity, the broodingness within that, but she still does not feel the warmth of the home over here. That might be the lack of a ability to accept that, because normal homes are like this only, where there will be singing and merriment and everything, little talking, but she is not used to that. Okay, that what makes the alienation. There is no justification, there is no judgment in this kind of situation. You cannot judge, তুমি কাউকে জাজ করতে পারবে না এখানটা যে এ ঠিক এ ভুল, right? You have no position to judge. Everyone has their own kind of family, one cannot judge. But what we see here is that this kind of alienation is happening within Beam, because Beam feels the aloofness over here. On seeing that, on hearing those things, on seeing Dr. Biswas pushing her to sing or creating a scenario to ask her to sing, she puts down the plate with several of the goodies still untouched, the things that has been cooked. Unfortunately, what we see here is that the very ones that are untouched are the ones Mrs. Biswas has spent all morning cooking. Okay, but what we see here is that, but how would Beam know that? Right, Beam would not have known that Mrs. Biswas has cooked those things. Right, she listened to the mother and son arguing more and more heatedly, the old lady on the brink of tears and everything. And what we see here is that in those embarrassing situations, then Beam decided that it was enough for her to face those things, and said quite larkingly that she must get home before dark. But unfortunately, just as she stood up and said that, Mrs. Biswas had relented and agreed in Bengali to fetch her harmonium and sing. So, see the situation. The moment she has said, the moment Beam has said that she must go home before dark, and at that moment only, Dr. Biswas's mother, Mrs. Biswas, has said in Bengali that she is going to bring the harmonium. So the clash of the opposites are happening again. So this is a chance that I was speaking on in the last class, that chance and coincidence have taken the shape of the future, shaped the character, shaped the life of both the sisters and the whole family. Okay, the life of Tara has changed because of the chances that has came to her. She has grabbed that, she has moved out of the family, and that has made the difference. Whereas Beam has focused on her own family, and that has made her own difference. The chances do come to her, the luck does turn to her, but what we see here is that again a chance and again a coincidence comes along when Mrs. Biswas says that she will bring the harmonium over here to let Beam sing. Beam had of course not understood those things because it was spoken in Bengali. Ami harmoniumta niye ashi tahole. What we see here is the clash of the opposites. Obviously the clash of the opposite is present from the beginning, that I was constantly trying to say here, that the family, though being willing to take care of the family as a whole, but what we see here is that the essence of the family, the characteristic, the main characteristics of the family is different in these two sections, in these two families, the Das and the Biswas family. Okay, how they are different is said before. The broodingness, the opposite tradition is present, the pushing down of responsibilities and the implication of the responsibilities that has been forced by fate on Beam and all that, right? Moreover, though they are Das family, but she does not know Bengali, right? That has made another chance of her being involved, lack of chance, right? She does not get involved. uh, no, here was Beam saying she would not stay, she would go. It was very unfortunate, very rude and impolite and intolerable. Obviously, when her prospective or would be mother in law, or there is a chance of her mother in law giving in to the demands of the son, and to let the would be wife or the prospect or girlfriend rather, or love interest rather, the chance of singing in front of her, so a closeness, so a bonding would have been established, right? But at that very moment, as luck would favor, as luck would not favor rather, she says that she needs to go home before dark. And this snapped the possibility, this destroyed the possibility of her being coming out of the negativity of the family of Das. Okay, setting her lips together, Mrs. Biswas, after a moment of silence, because that very moment she has said she has agreed to listen to the song, bring the harmonium and listen to the song. Of course, you must go. It is getting dark. So what we see here is that again, due to chance, Beam had to stay in the family. She is destined to take care of the family members, and as chance would lead it, she does not have the chance to take care of her own life. The chance that she has got, the chance she has got to live life for her is erased away or washed away. Clear? Dr. Biswas, on his feet sewing a bit, is struck with disaster. Dr. Biswas was sewing because he could sense the disaster that has happened, right? Where his prospective wife is willing to go, and his mother is willing to give her the chance to sing. But in the meantime, the mother has also said that she must go before dark. So the disaster has happened. Tahole there is no chance. There is no chance of a to get acquainted again. She does not know what what the mother has said in between in Bengali. She didn't understood, right? So Dr. Biswas was dumbfounded. Then, casting a look over his shoulder at his mother, she shuffled about the small, dark, drab room, collecting the scattered cups, plates, everything, looking over all the unseen goodies. He hurried down the stairs after Beam. Okay, he hurried down the stairs to see of Beam. So what we see here is that the chance of them getting acquainted is lessened, where Beam has not spoken anything, she has not spoken anything much, and on the other hand, the possibility of them getting acquainted or any chance of them getting what can you say, another chance of meeting is snapped over here, because the possibility of meeting, the only millisecond, the only chance that they would have got, or any another chance that they could have created, was by the inclination or appreciation of each other. you cannot appreciate the death of the father, death of Dr. Biswas's father, right? There is nothing to appreciate. You cannot appreciate arthritis, so you cannot appreciate the servant going away, right? Or how many servant Beam has, one cannot appreciate that. So the bonding, the inclination or the liking develops only when you appreciate, right? So the appreciation would have developed only if Beam would have sung, right? Then there would have been space for liking each other, right? But it has been snapped. Clear? So we see that Beam is now leaving the house and Dr. Biswas is following her in order to say her goodbye or seeing her off. So what we see here is that her chance of getting acquainted or her chance of being into the family is destroyed. Clear? We will continue the next sections where she is returning home and another situation, another condition of the society will be expressed over here in the next section. We will continue that in the next class. I hope you have understood this section where the bonding, where the chance of Beam getting acquainted or Beam getting a normal life where she could take care of her own existence, where she could think about herself, is snapped, right? Her possibility of getting married or possibility of getting towards the marriage is snapped over here, and she is again destined to be struck by the fate and get stuck in the space that she is in. Okay, so the space is like a well, as it has been represented in this section only, where the cow fell and died. She has to be forced, she has to stay there, she has to be stuck within the well, the well that is the family that she is in, and take care of those the family members who are leaving one by one. Okay, Tara has left. Next, Raja will leave for Hyderabad, and before that Aunt Mira will die, or after that, whatever. But we see that there is this kind of situation where there will be no one beside Beam except Baba, obviously, though Baba's presence is a question because he is retarded, and what we see here is that the fate has snapped her chances of getting a family which would be helpful, which would lead her to a happy life. Okay, so-called happy life, normal life, where she can take care of herself, where she can be responsible, where she do not have to worry about others only, where she can take care of herself also. Clear? We will continue in the next class. Thank you.